Good evening, I'm Martin Stew. The Director of Public Prosecutions is to personally investigate the case of a woman who committed suicide days before she was to face trial over allegations she made a false claim of rape. The father of Eleanor de Freitas, who suffered from bipolar disorder, told ITV News he believes the prosecution led to her death. Ria Chatterjee reports.
Eleanor de Freitas alternated between high moods and low moods. But according to her father, she tried not to let bipolar disorder control her life. One day, she told him she'd been raped. It set in motion a chain of events that ended in her killing herself.
When I heard Eleanor had died, I was stunned and in a state of shock and disbelief. I was hoping what I'd been told was not true.
Eleanor tried to get on with her life after police told her there'd be no prosecution because of inconsistencies in her evidence. But then the man she'd accused of rape launched his own private prosecution, accusing her of perverting the course of justice.
The CPS decided that they would support the private prosecution. How did Eleanor react to that?
She had to go back to court so many times and it was all very corrosive on her. It was just wrong on so many levels. I mean, it's just... Poor girl.
After our interview, Mr. de Freitas went to the start of the inquest into Eleanor's death. He wants a jury to decide how big a role the Crown Prosecution Service played in her death.
Can there be justice for Eleanor now, David, or do you think it's too little too late?
It is too little too late, but we do have the opportunity to make sure that this doesn't happen to any other vulnerable young lady, and to make sure that no other family has to go through what we went through.
Why did the CPS pursue this case against a woman suffering with mental health problems? Asked the family.
They failed my daughter, and if things stand as they are, they're failing every other vulnerable woman in this position.
The Chief Prosecutor, Alison Saunders, says she'll look into this case personally, one of the most difficult she's ever seen. The family are focused on taking action, whilst continuing to deal with their grief. Ria Chatterjee, ITV News.
Police have urged the public to help identify a burglar who held a knife to a toddler's throat in Uxbridge last week. The man gained access to a home by pretending to be a meter reader, but then threatened the 15-month-old. The toddler's mother has helped police produce this image of the burglar, who went on to steal some jewellery. One man has been arrested and released on bail, but police still want to identify the man in the picture.
The important thing is this investigation is still live, it's still active, and I still need people to look at that e-fit, and I need them to tell me who this man is. He's crossed the line. Threatening a child with a knife is completely unacceptable, and someone is going to know who he is, and I need them to tell me.
A woman from East London has been jailed for 3 years for buying a poisonous toxin called Abrim over the internet. 36-year-old Kuntal Patel arranged for the toxin to be delivered from America to a friend's house, but the Met Police was tipped off by the FBI. She was acquitted last month of plotting to murder her mother. Well, next, the RSPCA has apologised to a family for killing their cat against their wishes, then trying to prosecute them for cruelty. The charity seized Claude from Richard and Samantha Burns in May last year. It then had the cat put down, but has admitted its actions were disproportionate and insensitive.
Claude's gone and we just have to get on with it. So obviously the RSPCA have apologised to us, but that doesn't bring Claude back for us.
Well, 8 of the world's best tennis players are in London preparing for the end-of-season showdown. The World Tour finals at the O2 in Greenwich will feature Novak Djokovic, Roger Federer and Andy Murray. Our sports reporter, Will Mott, has been to see how they've transformed the concert venue into a sporting arena.
They're preparing for a very different type of racket this weekend at the O2. Workers have been turning the music venue into a world-class tennis court, together with big screens, booming sound systems and showbiz lighting. Wimbledon this is not, and that's exactly the point.
People never thought it would work when we started in 2008 and the planning, but the way we positioned the event, it's almost the total opposite end of the spectrum to Wimbledon in terms of the lights, the music. But the core product is still the same. You've got the world's best tennis players playing in front of a passionate audience, and it's just about putting that on in the right way.
With the pressure on, it takes a skilled team to transform this
to this. The court here was finished last night, and over the next week, the top 8 players in the world will face each other in the last big tournament of the season. And with over £1 million up for grabs for the winner, it's no wonder they're already out practicing.
It's Novak Djokovic's title to lose. The world number one's been in scintillating form. But Andy Murray wants to change all that. He's never won here before, and it's a chance to improve his ranking. He told me it's a lively occasion.
Wimbledon's like traditional, tennis event, and it's great for that. Here, it's more like a concert. There's music playing at the end changes. They turn the lights off, and the spotlights are on the players, and it's completely different atmosphere, but both are fun.
The finals will be coming back to London next year, but other cities have an eye on the tournament after that. So it's not only Andy Murray who will want to deliver this week. Will Mott, ITV News.
And finally, how a First World War soldier is contributing to modern science nearly 100 years after his death. Private Ernest Cable served with the East Surrey Regiment but died from dysentery in March 1915. Forward-thinking scientists at the time kept a sample of the bacteria, and that sample is helping researchers fight diseases today. Luke Hanrahan explains how.
There are no photographs of Private Ernest Cable. His remains buried alongside his comrades in France. He died on the 13th of March 1915 at the age of 28. He was one of millions of soldiers killed not by war but by disease. In his case, dysentery, documented here by the doctor who treated him. Broughton Alcock, a bacteriologist who kept what killed Ernest alive. The first of a national collection of preserved infectious diseases. Ernest's dysentery is now helping scientists to understand how this bacteria has evolved, how they can stop it killing people today.
It really is amazing that they had that foresight, that they could collect these bacteria that can now be used with the new technology today, and perhaps also quite incredible that Ernest Cable's strain was particularly the very first one that started that off. The bacterium that made him ill has actually been preserved and can be used today to understand about illness, antimicrobial resistance, and perhaps even help us develop vaccines.
In this small, cold room in northwest London, there are thousands of these vials which contain bacteria that cause human infections. And it enables bacteriologists to find vaccines to save thousands of lives. Ernest Cable died with no living family, but his memory lived on through this death penny given to Ernest's landlady. She, his chosen next of kin, a thanks for taking him in.
In the family, it was understood that Ernest didn't have anywhere to stay, so my grandfather offered him a bed. And the next thing that I knew was that my grandmother had received the death penny. It was always on the mantelpiece, it was always well polished, which is why it's worn away. And so that's how Ernest Cable came into our family.
A short life we don't know much about, but one that could now save millions as scientists unravel the genetic code of this deadly bacterial infection, meaning Ernest Cable's death will not have been in vain. Luke Hanrahan, ITV News.
Right, time for that all-important weekend weather forecast now. Here's Alex Beresford.
ITV London Weekend Weather, sponsored by Hive Active Heating. If only there were a forgetting Britain was this cold forecast.
Hello, we are going to see rain spreading eastwards tomorrow, but on Sunday it'll be drier and brighter. That's the better day to make the most of the weekend. Tonight it's a largely dry picture, maybe the odd scattered shower coming through from the west. Temperatures tucking down to 6 or 7, so all parts escaping a frost. Tomorrow, a bright start initially, but as we go through the daytime, we will begin to see rain and cloud arriving from the west. Some of that rain will be quite heavy. Temperatures up to 14 degrees Celsius, better on Sunday though.
Are you ready for the unpredictable?
Well, that's it from us, but don't forget you can look up what's been happening in the capital on our website, itv.com/London. We're back on air tomorrow evening at 6:05. From all of us, good night.